Football happy hour on CBS Sports HQ. Taking a look at the top remaining free agents. Trent Williams tops the list, followed by Kenny Galladay. Both of those guys were in Pete Prisco's original top 100 rankings of the free agents to be. A lot of those free agents got tagged. Some of them signed longer deals like Dak Prescott. But those two guys still available, followed by Curtis Samuel. Juju Smith-Schuster still out there as well as the number 7 ranked free agent, currently still on the market. So let's bring in Pete Prisco and Jonathan Jones, and let's talk about the guy on the top, Trent Williams. JJ, the 49ers want him back, but is his price going up with all the other interest around the league?
He has a price that the 49ers need to meet. It's unclear what that price is, but I could just guess it's going to be top of the market money for Trent Williams, who played incredible football last season, considering his 30-plus age year. I mean, he's playing really good ball. He's going to get what he wants. He just wants to make sure that someone's going to give it to him and that he's going to be in the best position possible to go after a ring. So San Francisco, I would put in the driver's seat to get Trent Williams. However, Kansas City absolutely making a push. Don't know if they're going to meet his number or not. And that's what Trent Williams is going to have to decide. Another team, I don't know if you call him a dark horse. I don't know if you call it smoke. But around the league, a lot of people do believe that the Chicago Bears could make a run at Trent Williams, may be involved. You're not hearing a whole lot of rumors coming out of his camp. They're keeping things close to the vest. But right now, it certainly seems like it's San Francisco in the driver's seat, followed very closely by Kansas City, if they can convince him, and maybe the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, JJ, I think he's going to go back to San Francisco. I think I'm in agreement with you, unless there's somebody that makes a wow offer. Why the Indianapolis Colts don't make a wow offer is strange to me, because I think they have a ton of cap room, and I know, Chris Ballard traditionally doesn't spend a lot in free agency, but he does make wow moves. And if you're looking at a left side of the offensive line with Quentin Nelson and Trent Williams playing left tackle, all of a sudden you look at that group and you go, wow. They would be even better than they were with Anthony Costanzo there. So I think they should get into the mix. I don't know if they will, but I think ultimately he's going to go back to San Francisco. He seemed like he was comfortable there. They'll probably come close to the money that he would get somewhere else. So I think he'll play with the 49ers. But you never know. If somebody makes the wow offer, he could be on his way out. And the Colts should be the one doing it.
Okay, and originally number 10 on Pete Prisco's ranking of the top 100 free agents was Kenny Galladay, who's now number 2 on the board. Pete has said that he doesn't think some teams view him as a number 1 wide receiver. JJ, is that kind of the question right now around the league, is whether or not they can pay him like a number 1?
Well, yeah, there is that, and obviously it very much seems like the Miami Dolphins, despite having some money, they're not just going to be throwing out money like we saw them do last year. Really, the entire league, and most certainly the wide receiver market, is waiting on what happens with Kenny Galladay. And so the fact that he has not yet been signed when we're really, truthfully, 2 days into free agency doesn't make a ton of sense. And obviously, what he believes he's worth and what other teams believe he's worth, there's clearly a delta there. But I can tell you this, the Will Fullers of the world, the Curtis Samuels of the world, they're waiting on Kenny Galladay. Juju Smith-Schuster is going to march to the beat of his own drum, I believe. But in Miami, it seems like it's Galladay or Smith-Schuster, with Fuller as an outside shot. We're going to see what sort of moves the Giants make there at wide receiver. But speaking of the Dolphins and Giants, we talked in the last segment about John Ross going to the New York Giants. I just reported a little bit ago, Miami Dolphins were also interested in John Ross before he signed with the Giants. So the Dolphins are interested in adding wide receivers, no doubt. They just want them at the right price.
Yeah, and that's the issue with a lot of these guys is price. They're number 2 receivers, and they want to be paid like number 1 receivers, and they're not. I mean, you look at the number 1 wide receivers, Julio Jones and DeAndre Hopkins and guys like that, Michael Thomas. These guys aren't them. And when you get to the market, I think Corey Davis, what do you get, $13 million? I think that's about what the market's going to be for these guys, $13, $14 million. And so I think that's where there's a problem. Plus, like I've mentioned many a time, there are guys in this league that don't think Kenny Galladay Galladay's a #1 wide receiver, and so why would you pay him that kind of money? I've heard people say he's a one-trick pony. I don't believe that, but guys in the league believe that all he is a guy who can go deep and win those 50-50 shots. So I think that's hurting his market. I think ultimately, though, he's still the #1 wide receiver left on the board.
All right, let's move to edge rushers, and this year's draft, isn't too hot on edge rushers. It's not like maybe some other years past, but free agency, we had a ton of them. A couple of them still out there. Melvin Ingram and Hassan Reddick. There's also the big name in Jadeveon Clowney. JJ, what are you hearing on these edge rushers here, Melvin Ingram in particular?
Yeah, Melvin Ingram is really going to be the only one there that I think is going to get any sort of realistic money. And at this point, Melvin Ingram, I think, could see something around $14 million per year in a deal that would probably be ultimately a 2-year deal. Whether it's a 4-year deal or not, it would probably be a 2-year deal for the team and for Melvin Ingram. The rest of them, though, you know, the market is sort of speaking. And if you had edge rushers, you held on to them this year more than likely because you saw what this draft class was going to be. Some guys that maybe could develop in 2 or so years. I'm thinking about a Greg Rousseau who's coming out of the University of Miami. You know, do you really want to take a chance on any of those guys in the top 50? And so if you do have a pass rusher on your team, you did what you could to retain him. The top guys are already gone, and now you see a team like, let's say, the Carolina Panthers, who desperately need edge help and defensive line help. They're not doing anything because they believe that they're going to let the market come to them. And we're seeing that across the board right now after that first wave of guys got paid. And so the guys that we just saw on that list earlier, really outside of Melvin Ingram, who I wouldn't at all be surprised to see him ink a deal by midnight tonight or early tomorrow. You know, Hassan Reddick, Jadeveon Clowney can wait for forever. We know that he's able to wait. But the rest of those guys, they might be waiting for some time and may not get the sort of money that they would have hoped for.
You know, Chris, I always ask you this question. How many sacks did you have last year?
Same as Jadeveon Clowney, right?
And the same as Melvin Ingram. None. I mean, and that's the problem with Melvin Ingram. I love him as a player when he's healthy, but he wasn't healthy last year. He wasn't the same player. He didn't rush the passer the way he normally did when he was on the field. So there's always that concern that maybe age is starting to become a problem for him. Look, I would never say that to his face because I think he's one of the meanest players in this league. I love the guy, but he wasn't the same player last year. Now, whether he could resurrect his career is to be determined. As far as Hassan Reddick, he was a one-year wonder. And I think teams are going to sit back and say, can he do it again? And that's why I think the market is a little bit slow on him as well. And you look, JJ mentioned it. If you're in the market for an edge rusher, you should get him now, or try to, because the draft class isn't great. There won't be a guy taken in the top 10 who's an edge rusher. And when you think about that, that tells you all you need to know about the edge class, because normally at least 1 or 2 of those guys are going in the top 10.
All right, that's Pete Prisco and Jonathan Jones with us on HQ. Wednesday, the new league year officially begins. Free agency becomes official, so a lot of these deals, which have already been agreed upon, will become official. Coming up next, we are going to dive into the New England Patriots, what they've done in free agency and how it affects what they are going to do in the draft. We have our draft analyst, Ryan Wilson, joining us on the other side. Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.